If you enter retirement owning a house, you may still be making a six-figure mistake. Most people never run the full math. A paid-off home can still cost $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 a year. The hidden bill is never one line. In the next 10 minutes, I will give you the exact housing math retirement decisions require. You will know what to compare. Start with the first mistake. People compare mortgage payments to rent when retirement housing is really an all-in carrying cost. That means property tax, insurance, repairs, upkeep, and the opportunity cost of trapped equity. The payment is not the decision. Conventional advice says owning is safer because the mortgage disappears. The math says many retirees simply replace one bill with 5 others. If your house is worth $700,000 and fully paid off, that does not mean free housing. It means expensive housing without a lender. A simple example makes this obvious. $8,000 of taxes, $3,000 of insurance, and $7,000 of maintenance becomes $18,000 fast. Then add the silent number. If $500,000 sits inside the house, that money is not producing retirement income. At a 4% withdrawal rate, $500,000 can support about $20,000 of annual spending. That is real opportunity cost. This is where mainstream advice gets weak. It treats home equity like a trophy, when retirement needs income, liquidity, and flexibility. Your house can be valuable and still be financially inefficient. Those are not contradictory statements, and retirees need both ideas at once. Here's the framework nobody runs. Compare 3 visible costs, 2 hidden costs, and 1 flexibility cost before deciding. Visible cost number 1 is annual shelter cost. That includes taxes, insurance, maintenance, homeowners association dues, and any remaining mortgage. Visible cost number 2 is expected major repairs. Roofs, heating systems, plumbing failures, and accessibility upgrades do not arrive politely. Visible cost number 3 is transaction friction. Selling a house often costs 5% to 8% after commissions, repairs, and moving. Hidden cost number 1 is equity drag. Money locked in the house cannot rebalance your portfolio or fund rising healthcare expenses. Hidden cost number 2 is concentration risk. One asset in one zip code can dominate half your net worth. Then comes flexibility cost. Renting can adjust quickly after widowhood, illness, adult children moving back, or estate tax change. Notice what is missing. None of this says owning is bad, and none of it says renting is always smarter. It says retirement housing is not a lifestyle slogan. It is a cash flow decision with asset allocation consequences. Take Linda, age 63. She owns a $750,000 home in a suburban tax-heavy county. Her annual property tax is $9,000. Insurance runs $3,400, maintenance averages $7,500, and landscaping adds $1,800. That puts her visible annual housing cost near $21,700. She still says, "At least I have no payment." Now, run the hidden number. If she sold, paid 7% selling and moving costs, she might net about $690,000. If even $450,000 of that becomes investable after downsizing, a 4% withdrawal supports $18,000 annually. That changes everything. Owning her current house is not free. Economically, it may be costing nearly $40,000 a year when equity drag is counted. That does not force a sale. It forces an honest comparison against the alternative she actually has. Suppose a comparable rental near her daughter costs $3,100 monthly. That is $37,200 annually before modest rent increases. At first glance, renting looks more expensive, but compare $37,000 of rent against nearly $40,000 of true ownership cost. Now add risk. The renter avoids the $12,000 furnace surprise and the $20,000 roof decision. This is where retirees often choose wrong. They anchor on the old mortgage payment instead of the new retirement cash flow. Anchoring is powerful because your brain remembers the house as something you finished paying for. Retirement math only cares what it costs now. There is another behavioral trap here. Loss aversion makes selling feel like giving something up, even when it improves monthly security. The house feels permanent, familiar, and emotionally earned. But a financially strong retirement is built on liquidity, not sentiment alone. Owning often wins when 5 things are true. Your taxes are modest, maintenance is manageable, equity is not oversized, location fits aging, and you will stay put. Renting often wins when 5 things are true. Taxes are high, upkeep is rising, equity is concentrated, mobility matters, and healthcare uncertainty is growing. Here is the number that changes many cases. Property tax alone can function like a permanent mini-mortgage in retirement. On a home valued at $900,000, a 1.3% tax rate means $11,700 yearly. That bill never retires. Insurance has changed too. In some states, retirees are seeing annual premiums move from $2,000 to $5,000 surprisingly fast. Maintenance is the quiet killer because it arrives irregularly. People budget $3,000, then face $18,000 in one ugly summer. A useful planning rule is 1% of home value for annual maintenance averaged across years. On $800,000, that is $8,000. Accessibility upgrades belong in the math as well. Grab bars are cheap, but first-floor renovations and walk-in showers are not. Aging in place sounds cheaper until you price the place. $12,000 here and $20,000 there can erase the comfort premium. Now let us flip the case. Renting is not automatically safer just because the landlord handles repairs. Rent has its own retirement risk. A $3,000 apartment rising 3% annually reaches about $4,030 after 10 years. That is an increase of more than $12,000 a year. Retirees living only on fixed income feel that squeeze immediately. So the real question is not renting versus owning. The real question is which risk you prefer and which risk you can afford. Owning exposes you to lumpy costs and concentrated equity. Renting exposes you to persistent inflation and less control over future housing terms. That is why broad slogans fail. You need a 10-year cash flow comparison, not a dinner party opinion. Here is a cleaner test. Price the next 10 years of each option using realistic assumptions, then compare total spendable wealth. Case 1 is stay and own. Add 10 years of taxes, insurance, maintenance, and 2 major repair reserves. Case 2 is sell and rent. Subtract selling costs, invest net proceeds, project conservative withdrawals, and then layer rent inflation. Case 3 is downsize and own smaller. This is often the overlooked middle path that dominates both extremes. Consider David and Renee, both 61. They own a $1 million house, mortgage-free, and feel financially disciplined. Their annual property tax is $12,000, insurance is $4,200, maintenance averages $9,000, and homeowners association dues are $3,600. Visible annual cost is already $28,800. That is before any kitchen appliance failure or aging-related renovation. If they sell and net $920,000 after expenses, then buy a $500,000 condo cash, everything changes. They might free roughly $420,000 of investable capital. At 4%, that supports about $16,800 yearly. Their condo taxes, insurance, and maintenance might total $12,000 annually. Suddenly, the smaller ownership path creates both lower costs and higher liquidity. This is why the title matters. People compare renting to owning when the smarter comparison is current home versus next best use. Before we go further, I want your read on this. Which retirement path are you planning right now? Stay, downsize, or rent? Drop that in the comments. Someone reading your answer may realize they're not the only one rethinking housing. And if you have already run the numbers, say which number surprised you most. That is usually where the real decision lives. Back to the math. The biggest mistake after skipping opportunity cost is ignoring sequence risk inside housing decisions. If markets fall 20% in your first retirement year, trapped home equity can feel comforting, but it is not liquid unless you act. If instead you are renting with a large portfolio, that same market decline can make monthly rent feel psychologically larger. Present bias magnifies the stress. Either feeling is irrational, but retirement planning works better when you name the feeling before it quietly starts steering the decision. Another hidden number is state tax arbitrage. Selling a high-tax home and relocating can improve retirement cash flow more than portfolio tinkering. Suppose you cut property tax from $11,000 to $3,000 annually. That $8,000 difference equals $200,000 of portfolio support at 4%. That is not a lifestyle detail. That is a capital allocation decision dressed up as a housing preference. Healthcare proximity matters too. Being 20 minutes from care versus 90 minutes from care is a financial variable, not only a convenience. Why? Because distance can force duplicate travel, home services, temporary lodging, or earlier assisted living transitions. Friction eventually becomes cost. This is where endowment effect hurts retirees. We overvalue what we already own because it is ours, not because it is optimal. Your current house contains memories, effort, and identity. Those are real, but they should not erase arithmetic. Try this question instead. If this exact house were not already yours, would you buy it today for retirement? If the answer is no, that tells you something important. You may be defending a past decision instead of funding a future one. Now let's just handle the strongest argument for staying. Stability has real value, especially when retirement already feels full of moving parts. Familiar neighbors, routines, doctors, and community lower cognitive load. That matters more in your 60s than it did in your 30s. The mistake is assigning infinite value to stability. Stability is valuable, but not when it silently crowds out income flexibility. If housing costs force smaller withdrawals everywhere else, then the stable house may be creating unstable finances. That trade-off must be seen. A practical threshold helps here. If all-in housing costs exceed about 25% of planned retirement spending, review the decision aggressively. So if you plan $80,000 of yearly spending, housing much above $20,000 deserves a serious second look. That includes ownership too. Another threshold matters for concentration. If home equity exceeds 40% of net worth outside pensions and Social Security, flexibility can shrink dangerously. That does not mean you must sell. It means your retirement may be overexposed to one non-income producing asset. And remember, appreciation does not pay the grocery bill. A house rising from $800,000 to $1 million still leaves taxes, insurance, and upkeep. Paper wealth feels comforting because it is visible on listing sites. Retirement security comes from spendable, controllable, repeatable cash flow. Now imagine Susan, age 66, newly widowed. She owns a $680,000 house and lives on $85,000 yearly. Her visible housing costs run $19,000. After her husband dies, she also faces snow removal, repairs, and decision fatigue alone. She sells, nets $630,000, rents near her sister for $2,800 monthly, and invests $400,000. Her anxiety falls immediately. Why? Not because renting is magically cheaper, because her total system became simpler, more liquid, and easier to manage under stress. That point matters more than most spreadsheets admit. Complexity itself is a retirement cost when only one spouse remains. There is also the reverse mistake. Some retirees sell too quickly because rent looks simpler, then underestimate inflation and overpay for convenience. If you rent, build margin. Assume at least 3% annual increases and keep a relocation plan before the landlord forces one. If you own, build reserves. Keep 1 to 2 years of visible housing costs in safe liquidity, separate from investment swings. That reserve changes behavior. People make better housing decisions when they are not negotiating with a leaking roof under portfolio stress. Run the numbers for your tax bracket and state, because location changes everything. A Florida condo and a New Jersey colonial are different animals. Also, run the emotional numbers honestly. If moving would isolate you, increase transportation needs, or sever support, that cost is real too. But do not confuse emotional cost with financial invisibility. Some costs are worth paying, yet they still need to be counted. So here is the simple retirement housing scorecard. Total annual ownership cost, expected repair reserve, net investable equity, rent alternative, and flexibility value. Put those 5 numbers on one page. If you cannot explain your choice with them, you are probably choosing by habit. And habit is expensive around retirement. Small housing errors, repeated for 15 years, become large portfolio consequences. This is the bigger truth behind the whole topic. Retirement is less about maximizing assets and more about reducing fragile points. A giant house, a concentrated balance sheet, and rising fixed costs create fragility. Lower complexity and stronger liquidity create freedom. If you feel confused by this decision, that does not mean you are bad with money. The system keeps selling status when you need clarity. Your job is not to win a cultural argument about owning. Your job is to fund a calm, durable retirement. So do one concrete thing today. Price your current housing cost for the next 10 years, then price one realistic alternative. Not a fantasy alternative, A real zip code, a real rent estimate, real taxes, real insurance, and real selling costs. Once you do that, the decision usually gets quieter. Fear shrinks when the numbers stop floating around unmeasured in your head. If this script helped, subscribe for more retirement decisions explained without fluff. Clear numbers make emotional decisions easier to survive. And tell me in the comments which number changed your thinking most: property tax, maintenance, rent inflation, or trapped equity. Because retirement freedom is rarely lost in one dramatic mistake. It is usually lost in one unexamined cost repeated for years.